to affection. Kathy, was there anything that you saw in the video that you want to emphasize?
Yeah, I want to emphasize, don't expect to hear it back. You said that, but it's really important. As parents, we are giving and giving and giving, and I think there was a time raising our kids that was hard for you. You are so good at giving words and stuff, but all kids aren't ready to give it back. Just because we're doing it doesn't mean that they're ready to speak kind words and think of great things to say and give you a hug when they walk in the door.
I know that during the junior high years was tough for me, especially with our girls. When our girls were in junior high, it was like one day all of a sudden I'm no longer the great dad that they want to run in and jump around with and wrestle and play and say sweet things and sit on my lap. All of a sudden they're rolling their eyes and I'd go to give them a hug and they'd just do this and not hug back. Those were some difficult seasons for me. And you know, in the video I say it when you see it. I actually think I need to put a little asterisk next to that and say, you got to say it even when you don't see it. That we as parents have got to realize that our words are gifts. The gift that originates in our heart and comes out of our mouth, the words that inspire and bless and build up. And we have to just keep, and you may have to give thousands of words, but just keep doing it. Verbally, writing notes, texting, but pour it on. And even if it doesn't come natural, you got to figure that one out.
Yeah, and this is one thing that doesn't come natural for me. I'm not great at words. I'm not real prolific. You have been the one in our house who's really led the way in this and has taught me how to see it and say it, and you know, and then even make things up if I haven't seen it.
I'm just glad to be good in one thing about parenting in comparison.
So many things.
No, so parents, what I would say is this: that if it's not natural, if you lean more like Kathy and it's just a little bit of a struggle, then you've got to practice. You have to wake up and say, okay, I'm going to say one really positive thing to each of my kids today. There's going to be no sarcasm. There's going to be no buts or add-ons to it. It's just purely positive. Then when you do it once a day, get to twice a day, move to 3 times a day until you become more natural. There is so much about encouragement. There's a lot of exercises in the workbook that we move them to. So let's talk about affection. And we have seen in some of our friends, especially in the males, that men have a hard time being affectionate.
It's harder for men, I think. It's harder for dads to show affection to their kids for some reason. I don't know if it's they feel weird about it and they shouldn't hug their daughters, or you know, their son's too manly, this isn't manly, but kids need it. I mean, if they don't get it from their dads, they're going to search for it somewhere else.
It's just a lot of skin hunger, and that skin hunger has to be fed. And what happens is, when it is fed, it breeds great security. And when I look at you, I mean, I've told you this since we met 30 plus years ago, that you're one of the most secure people I know. And so you got the encouragement and the affection from your parents. You grew up in that healthy environment. Talk a little bit about your dad giving you affection.
I did. I don't think my dad came from an affectionate home. I mean, I know he came from a single mom home also most of his life. But my dad learned it. It became a value of his somehow. He wasn't a typical, I'm gonna give you a hug and show you I love you that way. But my dad's way of affection was we danced all the time. When I was little, he'd put me on his feet and we'd dance around the room. And then even as I got older, he taught me how to do all his fun little 50s dances and stuff like that. And I think it was really a positive form of affection from him. He maybe didn't know how to give that hug and be really obvious about, you know, here's your affection you need for the day.
Yeah, but he found a way to figure it out, because that's what intentional parents do. Parents, let's say it's not natural to you, and you might say, well, I'm not affectionate, Doug, because my parents weren't affectionate to me. I grew up in that type of environment. Okay, I get it. I really do get it. But an intentional parent puts a stake in the ground and says, I'm not going to allow my past to dictate my future. And encouragement and affection may not come easy to me, but I'm going to be that transitional generation that models to my kids what good words sound like and what good affection feels like. And that's a very, very important thing. And what it does is it drives just this strong sense of security. You never felt like you weren't loved.
I never felt unloved from my parents. And, you know, it makes me think also, it's also made me really confident in God's love for me. I don't think that, you know, my parents didn't withdraw or take and give. They were consistent in their encouragement and affection, and it makes it easier for me to believe that God is always loving.
So here's the challenge. Most of us don't really have a good grasp of how we're doing in these areas. And it's not that we don't want to be encouraging or affectionate, it's just that we don't realize how naturally negative we are. I've read research that says only 30% of the words that we use are positive words. I mean, think about that. that is a lot of negativity, and it seeps into the way that we relate to each other and then into our kids. In the workbook, we've given you some practical questions and some exercises designed to help you honestly evaluate how you're doing when it comes to being encouraging and showing affection. And don't worry if you're not perfect. We've communicated that we're not. Nobody is. But hopefully you'll be able to get a clearer picture of what areas you might be able to improve on and then start to see some positive changes. Remember, our words and our touch matter more than you can ever imagine.